Here's what nobody tells you about mountain towns. The dream isn't dead, it's just hiding in places that don't have their own reality TV shows yet. While Aspen condos are selling for $2.4 million and Jackson Hole starter homes are hitting $1.8 million, there are still mountain towns in America where you can buy an actual house with a yard within walking distance of trails for less than what a parking space costs in Vale Village. These places exist. They're just not on Instagram every 47 seconds. But here's the catch. And you knew there was a catch. These towns require something the Aspen crowd will never understand: compromise. You might have to drive 45 minutes to Costco. Your ski resort might have 2 chairs instead of 20. Your nearest trauma center might be a helicopter ride away. The trade-off for affordability is always isolation, whether that will test your relationship with nature or economic fragility that makes every winter feel like a gamble. We found 8 mountain towns where the mountain life is still within reach if you're willing to accept that within reach means something different than it did in 1987. These aren't hidden gems that influencers haven't ruined yet. They're places with real economies, real people, and real challenges. Some have ski resorts. Some have lakes that freeze solid for 4 months. One has an entire ski area that went bankrupt and is crawling back from the dead. Another sits at 9,300 feet where winter doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door down and stays until May. This is a countdown from accessible to all in. From I could do this on weekends to I'm buying a satellite phone and learning to can vegetables. By the end, you'll either have found your escape route from the $4,000 a month rent trap, or you'll realize you're not actually built for 200 inches of annual snowfall and the nearest Trader Joe's being in a different area code. If you're tired of watching mountain real estate listicles that end with, and the median price is only $3.2 million, hit subscribe. Drop a comment with the most you'd sacrifice for mountain access, job options, nightlife, or reliable internet. Let's find out where the line is. And if you make it to number 1 without thinking absolutely not, you might actually be ready for this. We're starting in Salida, Colorado, population 5,600, because this is the town that proves you don't have to choose between mountain access and functioning like a normal human being. Salida sits in the Arkansas River Valley at 7,000 feet, surrounded by the Sawatch Range on one side and the Collegiate Peaks on the other. 14,000-foot mountains in every direction, whitewater kayaking through downtown, and a historic main street that hasn't been turned into a luxury outlet mall yet. The median home price in Salida is $465,000 according to Zillow. That's less than a 1-bedroom condo in Breckenridge. For that price, you're getting an actual house with a yard where you can see Mount Shavano from your kitchen window. According to Redfin, the average days on market is 68, which means homes are moving, but not in a feeding frenzy. You can actually think about it for more than 18 seconds before someone from California outbids you with cash. Here's what Salida figured out that other mountain towns didn't: diversify or die. The economy isn't just tourism. Salida has a legitimate art scene with galleries that sell actual art to actual people, not just second homeowners decorating their Airbnbs. The town hosts FibArc, the oldest whitewater festival in America, every June. There's a downtown with coffee shops that stay open past 3 p.m., breweries where locals actually drink, and restaurants that aren't just serving $47 elk medallions to tourists. The Arkansas Headwaters Recreation Area runs right through town, which means world-class rafting, kayaking, and fishing without driving anywhere. Monarch Mountain is 18 miles west, a small ski area with 800 acres, but it averages 350 inches of snow annually, and lift tickets are $89 instead of $239. If you need bigger, Crested Butte is 90 minutes away. You're also 2 hours from Colorado Springs, which means Costco runs are annoying but not apocalyptic. The cost of living index is 118 compared to the US average of 100 according to Best Places. That's high, but it's not the 180 plus you'll find in Summit County. Property taxes run around 0.5% of assessed value, and Colorado's income tax is a flat 4.4%. The trade-offs are real but manageable. You're giving up immediate big city access, but you're gaining a town where you can actually know your neighbors, and mountain access doesn't require a trust fund. A local realtor told us off the record, Salida gets people who are done pretending they need a Whole Foods. They want mountains, they want a real town, and they're willing to drive for the rest. The winter weather is serious. January averages 14 14 degrees Fahrenheit at night, but it's high desert dry, not the soul-crushing wet cold of the Pacific Northwest. You'll own a good snow shovel. You'll use it. The Arkansas River runs right through town, which means you'll hear it from your bedroom window at night, a constant white noise that either puts you to sleep or drives you insane within 3 months. There's no middle ground. Summer brings kayakers who paddle Class 4 rapids before breakfast and then argue about coffee roasts at the local shop like their lives depend on it. This is peak Colorado. Athletic, opinionated, and slightly insufferable in the best way. Picture this: 7 a.m. in December. You walk outside to scrape your windshield, and the sunrise is turning Mount Shavano pink. You smell wood smoke from someone's stove, hear the Arkansas River even though it's half frozen, and realize your mortgage payment is less than what your Denver studio apartment used to cost. Salida isn't Aspen. It's the town Aspen used to be before the private jets arrived. And if Salida feels like the reasonable choice, like the place you could actually pull off without becoming a full-time prepper, just wait, because number 7 requires a little more faith in your snow tire budget. From the Arkansas Valley, we're driving north to Montana, to a town that feels like it got flash frozen in 1985 and nobody bothered to thaw it out. Red Lodge, Montana. Population 2,300. Elevation 5,500 feet. Sitting at the base of the Beartooth Mountains with the kind of main street that makes you wonder if you accidentally drove onto a movie set. The median home price in Red Lodge is $515,000 according to Zillow data. That's up 23% in the last 3 years. But here's the thing, you're not just buying a house, you're buying proximity to Red Lodge Mountain, a ski resort the town actually owns and operates. The resort has 1,635 acres, 70 trails, and 8 lifts. It's not Vail, it's better than Vail because a day pass costs $79 and you can park without selling a kidney. Season passes run $699. According to the Red Lodge Chamber of Commerce, the resort averages 250 inches of snow annually, and the terrain is legitimately challenging. Steep, tree skiing, and 0 lift lines on weekdays. Here's what makes Red Lodge unusual. It's a functional year-round town that happens to have a ski resort, not a resort that happens to have a town attached. The downtown is 29 blocks of brick buildings from the 1880s coal mining boom. There are actual hardware stores, actual grocery stores, and bars where you can still get a beer for $5 without irony. The Pollard Hotel has been operating since 1893. The brewery makes beer. The coffee shop serves coffee. Nobody's trying to turn Red Lodge into an experience. The economy runs on tourism, ranching, and people who work remotely and decided Montana sounded better than another Zoom call from a Denver apartment. According to the US Census Bureau, the median household income is $56,000, which is low, but so is the pretension. You're 60 miles from Billings, which is Montana's version of a city, meaning you can get to a Costco, a hospital with more than 6 beds, and an airport that flies to actual places. Yellowstone National Park's northeast entrance is 65 miles away via the Beartooth Highway, which is either the most beautiful drive in America or a white-knuckle nightmare depending on whether it's July or January. The cost of living index sits at 109, and Montana has no sales tax, which softens the blow of property taxes that run around 0.84% of market value. The winters are not theoretical. January averages 18 degrees Fahrenheit, and the town gets 70 inches of snow annually. The Beartooth Highway closes from October to May, which means your connection to Yellowstone and the outside world is seasonal. You're not leaving Red Lodge in a hurry between November and April unless you really commit to the drive through Billings. One Reddit user described it perfectly. Red Lodge is what people think Colorado ski towns still are. Locals ski before work. The ski patrol knows your dog's name, and if you complain about the cold, someone will remind you that you moved to Montana on purpose. The town has one grocery store, Beartooth Market, and if it doesn't have what you need, you're driving to Billings or ordering it online. Your late-night food options are gas station nachos or the acceptance that dinner ended at 9 p.m. Picture this: February afternoon on the mountain. You ski off the lift, cut through the trees, and there's nobody else around because everyone with money is at Big Sky. You can see the Beartooth Plateau from the top, and the wind is sharp enough to make you question your life choices, but your season pass costs less than a weekend in Breckenridge. You're not rich, but you're skiing. At least in Red Lodge, you've got a ski hill and a downtown. Because number 6 is where the mountain towns start asking a different question. What if you had to choose? Back to Colorado, but this time to the southwest corner, where the mountains meet the desert and the town figured out how to keep the lights on even when the tourists leave. Durango, Colorado. Population 19,000. home to Fort Lewis College, the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, and the kind of outdoor industry infrastructure that makes other mountain towns look like they're winging it. The median home price in Durango is $645,000 according to Redfin. That's the most expensive town on this list so far, and it's climbing, up 18% in the last 2 years. But here's the trade. Durango has an actual economy. Fort Lewis College employs 500 people and brings 3,400 students who need housing, food, and someone to fix their Subarus. The outdoor industry is real here. Osprey Packs, Powderhorn, and a dozen smaller companies call Durango home. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate is 3.2%, which means if you're willing to work, there's work. Durango sits at 6,500 feet on the Animas River, surrounded by the San Juan Mountains. Purgatory Resort is 25 miles north, 1,635 acres, 105 trails, 12 lifts, and 260 inches of average annual snowfall. A season pass runs $899, and the mountain is legitimately good. It's not Telluride, but Telluride median home prices are $2.3 million, so let's keep perspective. You've also got access to 2.5 million acres of San Juan National Forest, which means hiking, mountain biking, and backcountry skiing that doesn't require a permit lottery or checking Instagram to see if the trailhead parking lot is already full. The cost of living index is 124, according to Best Places, which is high but explainable. You're paying for a town that won't collapse the second ski season ends. The Durango and Silverton Railroad runs year-round and brings 200,000 tourists annually, which keeps restaurants, breweries, and shops in business even in shoulder seasons. Main Avenue has 30 blocks of actual walkable downtown with bookstores, gear shops, and restaurants that aren't just serving truffle fries to Texans. Here's the catch. Durango knows it's desirable, and it's pricing accordingly. According to Zillow, the average days on market is 42, which means homes are moving fast. You're competing with remote workers, retirees with pensions, and second home buyers who want mountain access without full isolation. Property taxes run about 0.5% of assessed value, and Colorado's flat 4.4% income tax applies. You're also 330 miles from Denver, which is either freedom or a problem depending on how often you need to fly somewhere. The winters are manageable. January averages 27 degrees Fahrenheit, but Durango gets 71 inches of snow annually, and the town is good at plowing. You're not snowed in for weeks like you would be further north. The bigger issue is summer heat. July averages 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and the high desert sun is relentless. You'll spend more on air conditioning than you planned. A local told us, Durango is for people who want the mountain life, but also want a paycheck that doesn't depend on ski season. You're giving up the remote cabin fantasy, but you're gaining a town that actually functions. The grocery stores are real. City Market, Walmart, Safeway. The hospital is real. Mercy Regional Medical Center with 82 beds. You can get an MRI without a helicopter. Picture this. Saturday morning in July, you bike the Animas River Trail from downtown to the college, stop at Steamworks for a coffee, and the San Juans are so close you can see individual trees on the ridge lines. Your rent is $2,200 for a 2-bedroom, which is absurd, but you're in a town where you can actually work and live and ski and not feel like you're LARPing poverty in a billionaire's playground. And if Durango feels too civilized, too much like a place that made reasonable decisions instead of gambling everything on one industry, number 5 is where things get weirder. Because what if your mountain town also had a lake, and seaplanes, and winters that make Durango look like San Diego? From the Southwest Rockies, we're heading to the Idaho Panhandle to a town that couldn't decide if it wanted to be a beach town or a mountain town. So it chose both and dared you to complain about it. Sandpoint, Idaho, population 9,200. Sitting on the north shore of Lake Pend Oreille, Idaho's largest lake at 43 miles long, with Schweitzer Mountain Resort 11 miles away and enough seaplanes to make you think you took a wrong turn into Alaska, the median home price in Sandpoint is $575,000 according to Zillow. That's up 31% since the pandemic turned every remote worker with a laptop into a potential Idaho refugee. According to the Sandpoint Area Association of Realtors, the average days on market is 58, and inventory is tight. You're competing with people fleeing Seattle, Californians who heard Idaho has no state income tax and immediately Googled towns near skiing, and locals who've been priced out and are now living in Priest River wondering what happened. Here's the setup. Sandpoint sits at 2,100 feet, which is low for a mountain town, town, but Schweitzer Mountain rises to 6,400 feet and gets 300 inches of snow annually. The resort has 2,900 acres, 92 trails, and the kind of terrain that makes people from the Midwest say, "I didn't know Idaho had mountains like this." A season pass runs $1,049, and the mountain is legitimately excellent. Steep bowls, tree skiing, and views of Lake Pend Oreille that'll make you forget you're in a state famous for potatoes. On weekends, you can ski in the morning and paddleboard on the lake by afternoon if you're the kind of person who makes everyone else feel lazy. Lake Pend Oreille is 1,150 feet deep enough that the Navy tests submarines here because the cold, dark water mimics the ocean, which means on summer evenings you might see sailboats, seaplanes, and occasionally a classified military vessel that nobody's supposed to talk about. It's the most Idaho thing imaginable, paradise with a side of government secrecy. The lake freezes partially in winter and locals ice fish, ski across it, and generally treat it like an extra 180 square miles of usable space. Summer brings seaplanes, sailing regattas, and enough tourists to keep downtown Sandpoint's restaurants and breweries functional year-round. The cost of living index is 119, and Idaho has no state sales tax on groceries and a flat 5.8% income tax. Property taxes run about 0.63% of assessed value, which is reasonable. The problem is that Sandpoint's desirability has turned it into North Idaho's answer to Jackson Hole. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income is $52,000, which means the people who've lived here for decades are getting crushed by housing costs designed for remote tech workers and retirees. The winters are serious. Sandpoint gets 60 inches of snow annually, and January averages 25 degrees Fahrenheit. The lake effect weather is real, overcast skies from November through March, and the sun becomes a rumor you vaguely remember. If you have seasonal affective disorder, Sandpoint will find it. You're also isolated. Spokane is 80 miles southwest, which is your nearest real airport, Costco, and trauma center. Coeur d'Alene is 45 miles south if you need Target, but you're looking at an hour drive minimum for anything resembling city infrastructure. At least in Salida, you could drive to Costco in under an hour. In Red Lodge, you had Billings. Sandpoint? You're looking at 80 miles to Spokane, and that's if the pass is open. Picture this: July evening on the lake. You're paddleboarding in water so clear you can see 30 feet down, Schweitzer rising to the east, the sun setting over the Selkirk Mountains, and a seaplane lands 50 yards away like it's the most normal thing in the world. Your mortgage is $3,200. You work remotely, and you're living in a postcard. The bartender who just served you lunch? Sleeping in his van. One local put it perfectly: Sandpoint sold its soul for Schweitzer, and now we're all paying rent to people who ski here twice a year. The downtown is beautiful. Cedar Street has breweries, bookstores, and a food co-op, but the charm is getting expensive. Your coffee shop closed at 3 p.m. because they can't afford to pay employees enough to live here. And if Sandpoint feels like it's sliding into the same trap as Jackson and Aspen, you're right. But number 4 is where we leave the pretense behind and just start charging whatever the market will bear. We're staying in the northern Rockies, but moving east into Montana to a town that sits 25 miles from Glacier National Park, has a legitimate ski resort, and is in the middle of a housing crisis so severe it makes Sandpoint look like a charity operation. Whitefish, Montana, population 8,500, home to Whitefish Mountain Resort, a downtown that looks like a Hallmark movie set, and real estate prices that'll make you question whether Montana is still Montana or just Colorado with better PR. The median home price in Whitefish is $722,000 according to Zillow. That's up 42% in the last 3 years, and according to Redfin, the average days on market is 35. Homes are moving fast, and they're moving to people who aren't from Montana. The Whitefish Legacy Partners Land Trust reports that 73% of recent home sales went to out-of-state buyers, which means the locals who work at the ski resort, the hospitals, and the restaurants are getting systematically priced out of their own town. Flathead County is trying to fix this with workforce housing initiatives, but it's like bailing out the Titanic with a coffee mug. Here's what you're paying for. Whitefish Mountain Resort sits on Big Mountain with 3,000 acres, 105 trails, 14 lifts, and 300 inches of average annual snowfall. The terrain is excellent: steep chutes, gladed tree runs, and views of Glacier National Park that are so good they feel like cheating. A season pass runs $1,299, and the resort is owned by a private equity firm, which should tell you everything you need to know about where this is going. Lift tickets are $159 on peak days, which is creeping into Vail Resorts territory. Glacier National Park is 25 miles away via Going to the Sun Road, which is either a world-class scenic drive or completely impassable depending on whether it's August or February. The park gets 3 million visitors annually, which means summer traffic in Whitefish is apocalyptic. According to the National Park Service, Going to the Sun Road closes from mid-October to mid-June due to snow, so your access to one of America's greatest national parks is seasonal at best. The cost of living index is 126, and Montana has no sales tax, but property taxes run about 0.83% of assessed value, and you're paying taxes on a $722,000 home whether you wanted to or not. The median household income in Whitefish is $63,000 according to the Census Bureau, which means the math doesn't math. You're either working remotely, retired with a pension, or inheriting money. The service workers, the teachers, the ski patrollers, they're commuting from Columbia Falls, Kalispell, or living in RVs in Walmart parking lots. The winters are brutal. Whitefish gets 77 inches of snow annually, and January averages 16 degrees Fahrenheit. The town is good at snow removal, but you're still looking at 5 months of winter where leaving the house requires planning, layers, and a vehicle that won't quit when the temperature drops below zero. You're also 140 miles from Missoula and 230 miles from Spokane, which means your nearest big city amenities are hours away. If you need serious medical care, you're looking at a helicopter ride or a very long ambulance trip. A Reddit thread described Whitefish perfectly. It's the town everyone wants to move to until they see the prices. Then they move to Kalispell and complain about the commute. The downtown is beautiful. Central Avenue has restaurants, breweries, galleries, and enough charm to make you forget you just spent $18 on a burger. But the charm is expensive, and it's getting more expensive every year. Picture this: March morning at Whitefish Mountain. You're skiing fresh powder, the sun is out for the first time in 2 weeks, and you can see Glacier's peaks in the distance. You feel like you've made it. You live in Montana, you ski on weekdays, and you're living the dream. Then you check your property tax bill and remember that your 1,200 square foot house is assessed at $750,000, and the dream starts feeling like a payment plan. And if Whitefish feels like it's sliding into the same trap as Jackson and Aspen, you're right. But number 3 is where we leave the ski resort industrial complex behind and go somewhere so remote, so specific, that it repels normal people like a bug zapper. From the northern Rockies, we're driving southwest to California's eastern Sierra, to a town that sits in the Owens Valley surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks, has no ski resort, and exists almost entirely to serve rock climbers, mountaineers, and people who think the word remote is a selling point instead of a warning. Bishop, California. Population 3,800. Elevation 4,150 feet. 4 hours from anywhere you've heard of and proud of it. The median home price in Bishop is $475,000 according to Zillow, which makes it the most affordable town in California that's within sight of actual mountains. That's up 28% in the last 3 years, driven by climbers who got tired of paying Bay Area rent and decided living in the desert with 300 days of sunshine was a reasonable trade-off. According to Redfin, the average days on market is 72, which means homes sit longer here than in Whitefish or Sandpoint. Bishop doesn't have a ski resort or a college to prop up demand. It has rocks, wind, and a reputation. Here's the setup. Bishop sits in the Owens Valley with the Sierra Nevada rising 10,000 feet on the west side and the White Mountains on the east. The Buttermilk Boulders, Happy Boulders, and Sad Boulders are world-famous climbing destinations. The volcanic tablelands offer thousands of bouldering problems. Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the lower 48 states, is 75 miles south. If you're into climbing, mountaineering, or suffering at high altitude, Bishop is Mecca. And yes, Bishop doesn't have a ski resort, which makes it an odd inclusion on a mountain town list. But here's why it matters. Bishop represents what happens when you strip away the ski resort subsidy and ask if you actually want to live in the mountains or if you just want to ski. Because skiing is seasonal. Mountains are forever. And Bishop is for people who figured out the difference. The economy runs on tourism, outdoor retail, and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which controls the Owens Valley water rights and employs a few hundred people. According to the US Census Bureau, The median household income is $54,000, and the cost of living index is 118. You're not getting rich in Bishop unless you own an outdoor gear shop or a brewery. The town has one grocery store, Vaughn's, and if it doesn't stock what you need, you're ordering online or driving to Mammoth Lakes, which is 40 miles north and even more expensive. The winters are cold but dry. Bishop gets 5 inches of precipitation annually, which makes it one of the driest towns in California. January averages 30 degrees Fahrenheit at night, and the wind is relentless. The Owens Valley is a wind tunnel, and if you don't secure your trash cans, they'll end up in Nevada. Spring brings dust storms that reduce visibility to 0 and coat everything in fine alkaline powder. You'll own more bandanas than you ever thought possible, and half of them will be for keeping dust out of your lungs, not for fashion. Here's the isolation. Bishop is 250 miles from Los Angeles, 180 miles from Fresno, and 140 miles from Reno. The nearest trauma center is in Mammoth or Reno, and if you have a medical emergency in winter, you're hoping the roads over the passes are clear. Highway 395 is your lifeline, and when it closes due to snow or accidents, you're stuck. The town has a small hospital, Northern Inyo Hospital with 25 beds, but for anything serious, you're leaving town. One climber described it perfectly. Bishop is for people who'd rather be outside than inside, and if that's not you, you'll be miserable in 6 months. The town has coffee shops that close at 2 p.m., breweries that serve pizza, and a main street that's 3 blocks long. There's no movie theater, no Target, no Costco within 2 hours. Your entertainment options are climbing, hiking, fishing, or staring at the mountains and contemplating your life choices. Picture this, October evening in the Buttermilks. The sun is setting behind the Sierra, turning the granite boulders orange, and the air is cool and dry and perfect. You've been climbing all day, your hands are shredded, and you're sitting on a crash pad watching the light fade. You pay $1,400 a month for a house with a yard. You work remotely 3 days a week, and the rest of the time, you're outside. You haven't been to a mall in 2 years, and you don't miss it. At least Bishop has sunshine and world-class climbing. Because number 2 is where the mountains stop being a lifestyle choice and start being an endurance test. We're back in Colorado, but this time we're going to a place so high, so remote, and so committed to making life difficult that it feels less like a town and more like a dare. Silverton, Colorado, population 600, elevation 9,308 feet, 1 paved road in, 1 paved road out, and winters so severe that the town's official motto might as well be, "You sure about this?" The median home price in Silverton is $425,000 according to Zillow, which makes it more affordable than Durango, Whitefish, or Sandpoint, and that should immediately make you suspicious. When a mountain town is cheap, it's cheap for a reason, and Silverton's reason is that it sits at nearly 10,000 feet in a box canyon surrounded by avalanche terrain, accessible only by Highway 550, the $1 million highway, which is a white-knuckle drive even in summer and a potential death sentence in winter. Here's what you're buying into. Silverton was a silver mining town that boomed in the 1880s and busted in the 1990s when the last mine closed. The town survived by leaning into tourism, hosting the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, and opening Silverton Mountain, the most extreme ski area in North America. Silverton Mountain has 1,819 acres of ungroomed, expert-only terrain, 1 chairlift, and a mandatory avalanche beacon check before you ski. According to the ski area's own website, 80% of the terrain is advanced or expert. There are no green runs, no bunny slopes. If you're not comfortable skiing steep, ungroomed avalanche terrain, Silverton Mountain is not for you. The cost of living index is 105, which is shockingly reasonable, but that's because there's almost nothing to buy. The town has 1 grocery store, the Silverton Market, and if it doesn't stock what you need, you're driving 50 miles to Durango or ordering it online and hoping the delivery truck makes it over the pass. There's 1 gas station, 2 restaurants that stay open year-round, and a handful of bars where the locals drink, because what else are you going to do when the sun sets at 4 p.m. and it's minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside? The winters are not a lifestyle, they're a siege. Silverton averages 180 inches of snow annually, and the town is surrounded by avalanche paths with names like Bullion King and Gold King, which should tell you how seriously to take winter here. According to NOAA data, January averages 9 degrees Fahrenheit, and wind chill regularly drops below minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The town gets cut off from Durango multiple times each winter due to avalanches, road closures, or weather so severe that even the snowplows give up. If you need to leave Silverton in January, you're either very brave or very stupid. Here's the existential question Silverton poses. What are you willing to give up for mountain access? You're giving up reliable grocery stores, hospitals, high-speed internet, and the assumption that you can leave town whenever you want. San Juan Regional Medical Center in Durango is 50 miles away, which means if you have a heart attack in Silverton, you're hoping Flight for Life can land in a blizzard. The town has a small clinic, but for anything serious, you're leaving. A local told us off the record, Silverton is for people who want to prove something to themselves. It's not about skiing, it's about surviving winter and coming out the other side intact. The population drops to around 400 in winter because half the town leaves for somewhere warm, sane, and survivable. The people who stay are either running businesses that depend on Silverton Mountain, working for the county, or retired with pensions and nothing left to prove. Picture this: February afternoon. You're snowed into your house for the third day in a row because Highway 550 is closed and won't reopen until the avalanche crews can stabilize the slopes. You have enough food for another week, the power is on, and you're reading a book by the wood stove because your internet went out yesterday. Outside, the snow is still falling, the peaks are invisible, and the silence is so complete it's almost hostile. This is what you moved here for. This is the dream, and you're either lying to yourself or you finally figured out what you actually need. And if Silverton feels like the end of the line, like the most extreme mountain town commitment a reasonable person could make, you'd be right, except there's one more. And number one isn't about surviving winter, it's about betting on a resurrection. From the San Juan Box Canyon, we're driving north to central Idaho, to a town that almost no one has heard of, that sits on a lake you can't pronounce, next to a ski resort that went bankrupt in 2008, sat abandoned for a decade, and is now crawling back from the dead. Cascade, Idaho, population 940, elevation 4,780 feet. Sitting on the north shore of Lake Cascade with Tamarack Resort 15 miles away. And if you're wondering why you've never heard of this place, it's because Tamarack tried to become the next Sun Valley, failed catastrophically, and spent 12 years as a ghost resort before new owners decided to try again. The median home price in Cascade is $385,000 according to Zillow, which makes it the most affordable mountain town on this list. That price gets you a house with lake access, mountain views, and the knowledge that you're betting on a town whose economic anchor literally went bankrupt and might do it again. According to Redfin, the average days on market is 98, which means homes sit. People are cautious about Cascade, and they should be. This is not a sure thing. This is a gamble wrapped in pine trees and hope. Here's the story. Tamarack Resort opened in 2004 with big dreams. 1,100 acres of skiing, a golf course designed by Robert Trent Jones Jr., and luxury real estate that was supposed to turn this remote corner of Idaho into the next Deer Valley. Then, the 2008 financial crisis hit, the developers went bankrupt, the resort closed, and for over a decade, Tamarack was a ghost town. Empty chairlifts, abandoned lodges, a cautionary tale about what happens when you build a ski resort on borrowed money in the middle of nowhere. For over a decade, you could drive through Tamarack and see chairlifts frozen mid-air, half-finished condos with windows boarded up, and a base lodge that looked like the apocalypse had a real estate hobby. It was eerie, beautiful, and a reminder that mountain town dreams die when the money runs out. In 2016, new owners bought Tamarack out of bankruptcy and started rebuilding. They reopened the ski area in 2016 with 1,100 skiable acres, 7 lifts, and 300 inches of average annual snowfall. According to the resort's latest reports, they're investing $100 million in upgrades, new lifts, expanded terrain, a revamped village. The resort is functional, improving, and trying to convince people that this time it's different. Season passes run $899. Lift tickets are $89. The mountain is legitimately good. Steep terrain, deep snow, and zero crowds because most people still don't know Tamarack exists. Cascade itself is tiny. The downtown is 3 blocks long. There's one grocery store, Cascade Market, one coffee shop, and a handful of restaurants that close for the winter because there aren't enough people to keep them open. Lake Cascade is 28 miles long, and in summer it's a playground for boating, fishing, and paddleboarding. In winter, parts of it freeze, and the lake becomes a silent expanse of ice with mountains rising on all sides. The cost of living index is 98, which means Cascade is actually cheaper than the US average. average. Property taxes run about 0.63% of assessed value, and Idaho's flat 5.8% income tax applies. The problem is the economy. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income is $48,000, and there aren't many jobs unless you work at Tamarack for Valley County or remotely. If the resort fails again, Cascade goes back to being a logging town with a lake and not much else. You're also isolated. Boise is 90 miles south, which is your nearest airport, Costco, and real hospital. McCall is 30 miles north, which has more infrastructure but also higher prices. In winter, Highway 55 can close due to snow, and when it does, you're stuck until the plows clear it. The winters are cold. January averages 18 degrees Fahrenheit, and Cascade gets 50 inches of snow annually. You'll need a snowblower, a generator for when the power goes out, and a high tolerance for silence. One local summed it up. Cascade is for people who want the mountain life but can't afford McCall and are willing to bet that Tamarack figures it out this time. It's a gamble, but if it works, you bought in early. The town is quiet, affordable, and beautiful in a way that feels fragile, like it could disappear if you look away too long. Picture this: March morning at Tamarack. You're skiing powder that fell overnight, the sun is out, and there are maybe 30 other people on the entire mountain. You bought your house for $350,000. You work remotely, and your mortgage is $2,100 a month. You're living in a place that tried to become the next big thing, failed, and is now trying again. You don't know if Tamarack will survive. You don't know if Cascade will thrive or fade back into obscurity. But you're here, and the skiing is excellent. And for now, that's enough. And if that uncertainty bothers you, if you need guarantees and 5-year plans and the confidence that your town won't collapse again, Cascade is not for you. But if you can handle the risk, if you're willing to bet on a second chance, this is the most affordable mountain town with a real ski resort left in America. From Salida to Cascade, from $465,000 to $385,000. From ski resorts that never closed to ski resorts that came back from the dead. These are the 8 mountain towns where the dream is still within reach, if you're willing to redefine what within reach means. You're not getting Aspen. You're getting towns where locals still live, where ski passes cost less than $1,000, and where the nearest Costco is a legitimate consideration when choosing where to buy a house. You're trading convenience for affordability, guaranteed snow for affordable snow, and the certainty of Jackson Hole for the gamble of Cascade. The mountain life isn't dead. It's just moved to places that don't have their own Icon Pass resorts, where the coffee shops close at 3 p.m., and where winter is something you survive instead of something you Instagram. These towns exist, they're functional, and they're still affordable if you're willing to drive 4 hours to Reno or accept that your ski resort has 1 chairlift instead of 20. If this video made you realize you're willing to trade Whole Foods for a mortgage under $2,500, hit subscribe. Share this with someone who's still pretending they'll buy in Telluride someday. Drop a comment with the one thing you absolutely won't give up for mountain access, because everyone has a line, and by number 1, most people found it. The mountain dream is still alive. It just doesn't look like the brochure anymore.